Okay, hello and good evening. This is Rob Francksen, and I'm just going to take you through a short presentation based on my TELT assessment. As you can see on the screen, we've got the breakdown of the assessment, and this presentation forms part of component number 1, which is to design a learning resource, program or activity that embeds and integrates appropriate learning technologies into the curriculum. So I'll be presenting very briefly and giving you a whistle-stop tour of a particular learning resource, and ultimately this will form part of my critical reflective review, which will highlight key points, key learning points, and the potential impact on my professional practice as a literacy leader and deputy head primary practitioner. Okay, so ultimately I'm looking at a resource, which is called Storybird. And Storybird is basically an online platform which allows anyone really to make visual stories in pretty much seconds. The concept lies really with being able to reverse storytelling by starting with the image and then unlocking the story inside. The idea is it's really Storybird is designed to enthuse writers and readers of any age. It seeks to build upon media literacy and online social interactions. All the artwork is curated from illustrators and animators around the world, which enables the consumer to access 3 diverse formats, which are: you have an unlimited art-inspired picture book, serialized long-form stories, and then short poetry-based documents. Storybird is used in over 300,000 plus classrooms worldwide. Students are able to spark their creativity by entering a free, simple, immersive, fun, and safe classroom-contained community. It's definitely got an empowering creative formula which allows student-directed writing whilst facilitating social interactions through the medium of blogging and peer critiquing. And I will show you in a minute the logistics for me integrating this into literacy and across the curriculum. But ultimately, the idea to pilot and ultimately give Storybird its limelight is data trends in my school with regards to writing, with regards particularly to progress and attainment, particularly with boys, is not at the government defined expected level, if you like. KPIs for Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 highlight particular trends of poor progress. Again, boys writing. And despite the usual, despite a rigorous and consistent subject leader monitoring, which has been in the form of observations, scrutinies, pupil perceptions, marking from feedback, data tracking, along with staff insets based around whole school CPD, faculty curriculum planning, professional storyteller visits, weekly writing awards, and so on, it appears that the provision and enhancement of literacy, certainly with regards to learning, in particular writing, appears to be showing nothing particularly transformational. So my forthcoming action plan will ultimately be to propose that the means and ways by which literacy is approached requires even further discourse and consideration with regards to all stakeholders in a 21st century learning environment, and ultimately looking at digital literacy with connections to social interactions and peer critiquing could enable us a way forward. Okay, so if I take you on a quick whistle-stop tour of Storybird. Okay, so the idea is no emails are required. It's a web platform. I'll just take you kind of through it really. I've I've produced a document here that I can show you, and what you can do is you can basically select, I'll show you in a minute, but you can select numerous images. If I go to write up here, and what we will get is you can see lots of different artwork tags, search bar up here, and you can search particular images. And the challenge, although this is I'm in the early days of really playing around with this, is that once you've chosen an image, you then are governed by the images that artist has created. So if I let's click on the killer whale, the orca. So we have an image here. Oops. Just go up. We have an image here, which is a killer whale. And if I wanted to use that image, we have blog comments down here. But if I wanted to use that image, then I could choose to use this art, and I could choose one of the particular formats. So if I say, okay, I want to do a picture book, multi-page, then if I ultimately click on picture book, what happens is I'm created with an image there, and I am then given a host of other images, quite a lot of other images, but you'll see they're linked to animals, mostly linked to animals, not exclusive, and the idea is you create your story in here. So it could be, well, this is putting me under pressure, isn't it? Right, okay, so it could be maybe a narrative. Boris, beautiful killer whale, ponders why he has found himself all alone in the deep blue sea. Okay, so let's just say, okay, that's what stimulated my thinking. If I then want to create my next page, I then create the next page, and I have to insert another image. Well, I don't have to insert another image, but I then might want to think about, I don't know, let's choose this. So let's chuck that in there. Okay, so then we have another image, and I mean, this would take a bit more careful consideration, but ultimately then what I've got to do is kind of reverse, as I mentioned earlier, the storytelling concept by now trying to think of a narrative related to the images there. So it's kind of that kind of stimulating thought process, but also making it quite challenging. So you can do that with all sorts of different things. If I go back, then I'll just show you a quick, okay, so you can also read. So you can select again all sorts of different genres, and you can actually see what other artists, often pupils, etc., have created themselves. I don't know. Let's click on, let's say, humour. Okay, so this is about Julius, an offbeat inventor whose ideas aren't the most classy or organised or shined up. When he meets when he meets spunky human girl cat, things go out of control. So we've got a narrative there again. If I click, and you've got poetry and blog section. If I go to studio, then this will show you a little bit more of the collaborative environment. So here, if I click in Jaguars, you can attach a class list, which is what I've done. And if I go to students, you'll be able to see that I've numbered my students, and then they have a password which they can then get in with. And ultimately, you then produce student login cards, and then they are able to access it. Assignments, I think I'm running out of time. Assignments are able to be uploaded and then put out to pupils. And we have a library section there where they can see the link to a particular project